So I've noticed that a few people have been bringing up the rumours about Cody Sullivan again. I don't know if this is because certain individuals have gone quite silent lately, or if maybe there was a channel that was speculating about Cody again, but there certainly has been a bit of an uptick in people making comments about Cody, going back to the rumours, and in some instances starting new rumours. So since it appears that no one has done a video that has directly addressed Cody Sullivan, then I thought I might do so. No, I don't mean addressed as in I'm going to sit here and talk to Cody and say, I hope he watches this. What I'm talking about is basically I want to put the rumours to bed and give you what the facts are and basically show you what is just complete utter BS. I think it's important to note up front that Cody has no connection whatsoever with the disappearance of Lily and Jack. And his choice to not be in their life is the sort of complicated issue that I don't think we could fully understand without having a lengthy conversation with Malaya, without having a lengthy conversation with Cody, without a lengthy conversation with Belinda. But to be perfectly frank, I actually feel that it's really none of our business, and that dragging Cody into all this achieves absolutely nothing. I think we need to maintain focus on Lily and Jack and on the people who clearly know what happened to Lily and Jack. I think that over time we've learnt a lot more about Malaya, and I think we need to take that into consideration as well, because I think the initial thought from a lot of people was, well, you know, Cody just basically turned his back on those kids. Let's blame Cody, let's vilify him. But honestly, we've seen another side of Malaya. And this is not from accounts from Janie. This is from accounts from Belinda and accounts from the media. And I'm going to tackle that through this video also, because I think that will at least help people to understand that in actual fact Cody's not a villain here. And I will explain more on that as we go through this video. I'm hoping that the outcome of me doing this video is that people stop pushing the rumours and stop trying to attack Cody when none of it is his fault. I really think that we don't need to be having all these questions about Cody. We don't need to be shining the spotlight on Cody. We have enough information now to know that that part of our discussion after this video, I believe we can just put it to bed. So if you've followed my channel for a while, you know that I do respect everyone's opinions and that I have no concerns over people presenting different points of view in the comments section of my videos. However, I've noticed that this case has brought out a few trolls, and in the last week I've actually had to block 2 people from my channel because they were being disrespectful in the comment section. So I'm just going to say this. My channel is a channel where people normally are extremely respectful towards each other in the comments section. I pride myself on the fact that my subscribers feel that they can safely express their opinions in the comment section without being attacked. So if you are disrespectful towards anyone in the comments section, and not just about anyone who's making comments, but disrespectful towards Belinda, disrespectful towards Cody, given that they have nothing to do with what happened to these children, then you may well find yourself being blocked. You may well find your comment being removed. So on that note, let's just jump in and get on with it. And yes, right on cue, my chihuahua has started snoring. So before jumping into the information that we have directly from Belinda, I wanted to go through the information that I have gotten from the various articles that were released after this recent document dump. So many of you would be aware, if you are only relatively new, you may not. After the document dump, I basically went through all the articles and put together a single document which pulled together all the information from each of the articles. If you wanted a copy of that document, it is available on my Patreon, which is free. So it's free to join my Patreon and it's free to download this document. And the link for my Patreon will be in the comments section below. Now, in terms of things on my Patreon, just a quick question. I have created transcripts of all the Janie audio and all the Belinda audio. And I think there's another one. Put a comment below if you want me to upload them to Patreon also, so that you can get copies of those transcripts. Okay, so what I'm going to read through here is, I guess you could say it's essentially plagiarism. I have basically just copied and pasted from each of the articles rather than sit down and rewrite it all myself. So basically you have paragraphs from each of the articles just all mushed in together. And I'm going to read through. This is the paragraph that I put together on Cody. So if you've seen my document, basically I separated it into categories so that it works as a reference. You can look on it and you can go, okay, Cody Sullivan, here's the information. I am going to create an updated version of that because I think there's more information that I've missed. So I will probably use it as a base for a more thorough document. So, talking about the numerous court orders, and we have, they discussed the Cobra Kid pass, which they said that they actually got video records for that. So they had closed circuit footage of all cameras of drivers leaving Nova Scotia between May 1st, 2025 at 2:25 p.m. to May 3rd, 2025 at 3 a.m. Interestingly enough, that date, May 3rd, 2025, is actually about the time that they interviewed Cody. So the purpose of that footage was basically just to double check that Cody hadn't abducted the children. Because we know now that, and this is in the second paragraph here, Brooks Murray did, however, call RCMP at 12:45 a.m. on May the 3rd to report that the children's biological father might have picked them up and taken them to New Brunswick. Now, I'm sorry, but that sounds like strategic manipulation. She would have known full well that he would not do that. And look, honestly, Malaya knows what happened to those children. She was deflecting. She was trying to put the blame on Cody to deflect from herself. This wasn't her being totally ignorant and thinking, oh, what if Cody did it? No, this was her being spiteful and putting this on Cody to try and take the attention off her. She stated that she did not have any proof and she just wanted to make sure every possibility is looked into. Yeah, Malaya, how about if we look into the possibility that you know what happened to your children? So the information we have is that the RCMP showed up at the Sullivan's house, or Cody Sullivan's house, or to be more specific, at Belinda Gray's house, at 2:50 a.m. in the morning, thanks to Malaya. So, yeah, nice, really nice, classy. So you can see, we're starting to see that Malaya's not, she might be quietly spoken, and yes, she might be a victim in terms of coercive control from Daniel. But we can see here there is a selfish side to her too. She's willing to hurt anybody if it means basically getting the focus off her. Even people who have no connection to what happened. She clearly wasn't concerned about the impact on Belinda and Cody of her making these accusations, and doing so at 12:25 a.m. That also seems a little bit calculated, because if you have missing children and you contact the RCMP and say, actually, you know what, I suddenly thought, what if their father has abducted them? You know that they're going to act right away. When children go missing, if there is an abduction that occurs, then you have a very, very small window of time to act on that. The longer you leave it, the less the chance of those children still being alive. So even if it was their biological father, the RCMP was going to act straight away. And I can't help thinking that making a call at 12:45 a.m. there was a bit of spite in that, basically. Either that or the decision was based on rugs. Add the D at the beginning yourself. I will admit that I made the mistake when I first watched all those videos of the younger Malaya, and in hearing other people say that she was a rather quiet person, I made the mistake of thinking, well, she must be capable of empathy. Quite often people who are quiet like that also are capable of empathy. But honestly, I really think that Malaya thinks of Malaya, and that's as far as it goes. Okay, so the next bit I think is probably best if I just read straight through. So this is from about halfway down. Police later met with Sullivan on May 22nd. The court documents said he told police he'd been in a relationship with the mother but had not seen her nor the children in 3 years. He said he paid child support, contrary to what Brooks Murray had told police. Now, that is a mistake. I actually double-checked this with Belinda, and she clarified, actually, he stopped paying child support when he lost his job. So that is definite. So this is a mistake. It may be that the report is misquoted. Those of you who followed the Maddie Soto case, you probably heard me on numerous occasions complaining about the inaccuracies in the reports from officers. When you listen to an interview and then you look at the report and you realise that they have misquoted or they've got something completely wrong. And you've heard it directly from an interview, so you know they've got it wrong. So clearly, either the reporter who was going through the documents has misquoted, or the officer who wrote the report about Cody got it wrong. So he did pay child support right up until the time when he lost his job. He said he did not know what happened to Jack and Lily, police noted. He was home on May 2nd, 2025, and never goes anywhere. He's not been anywhere other than his house recently and has had no contact with Malaya since the children went missing. On May 7th, RCMP spoke to Sullivan again because a tip said he'd been seen by a hotel employee in New Brunswick. Police confirmed once again he was at home in Nova Scotia. I'd be very interested to know who put that tip in terms of the hotel in New Brunswick as well. Because I'm willing to bet that it actually wasn't an employee. It was probably Malaya or Daniel, or someone connected to the case yet again. On June 12th, Cody Sullivan, the children's biological father, also did a polygraph and was determined to be truthful. There's no mincing words there. There's no, he was truthful on these 4 questions or, halfway there. They basically said he was determined to be truthful. And you will hear Belinda say later in this video that basically Cody has been totally cleared by the RCMP.
I'm Belinda. I am Lily and Jack's grandmother. Cody Sullivan is my son. There's been a lot of rumors, speculation, and talk concerning my son, and I really do want to clear that up because it has nothing to do with Jack and Lily finding them or what happened to them. My son has been living here for 11 months now. I keep getting stuck on 9, but it's been 11 months now. And he does not have a criminal record whatsoever. He has never been out west. And he has had nothing to do with the children for 3 years.
She starts out by making a very, very good point, and that is that basically these rumours about Cody aren't going to achieve anything. They really have nothing to do with Jack and Lily. They're not going to help find them, and they're not going to help find out what happened to them. So she goes on to say that Cody has been living with her for 11 months. Now, I think this audio is about a month old. This, by the way, is from the channel It's a Crime and Shame. She had a 5-hour live stream where Belinda was on. If you've not caught my audio of that, I basically went through and pulled out all the audio from Belinda. I realised, someone pointed out, and I realised that yes, I did double up in a few spots. When you are going through upwards of 10 hours worth of live stream audio, it is quite easy to accidentally go back and go back over a bit that you've already had. Here you have it directly from Belinda Gray. Cody has no criminal record. So these rumours about him being on house arrest, I have no idea where they came from in the first place. But no, he has no criminal record. He's not on house arrest. He's been living with her for the last year because he lost his job, he lost his apartment, he lost his car. And I think it's a reflection on the baser side of true crime that Belinda basically has to come out and tell a bunch of strangers that her son has had to move back home with her because he lost his job, he lost his car, and he lost his apartment, just to be able to defend accusations of him having a criminal record and being on house arrest. You know, I'm sure that neither Belinda or Cody are overly wrapped with that little bit of personal information being out there on the internet and being discussed by people. And apologies, Cody. But, you know, it was the lesser of 2 evils. So basically, you know, she was pushed into a corner by rumours. And it has nothing to do with what happened to Lily and Jack. As an Australian, I have no idea where out west is, But I'm guessing that that relates to the rumours about him having a criminal record, and that the Cody Sullivan who does have a criminal record probably lives out west. She also mentions here that he hasn't seen the children in 3 years, something that apparently people are happy to accept because they accept things that are negative about people more readily than anything positive, which I find a little bit disappointing. I did also want to highlight that because people keep saying, well, Belinda didn't see the children for 3 years, or they say she hasn't seen them for 2.5 years, and that's not accurate, and we'll come back to that later in the video.
Him and Malaya were together for 3.5 years. Their relationship went downhill really fast after Jack was born. Malaya told me that she was not happy. She definitely wanted out of the relationship. And we supported her 100%. My son, I don't know if it was the pressures of trying to support a family. I'm not sure what happened, but he started drinking a lot, started doing the drugs, and in the end, he just didn't care. And she got tired of it and left.
Now, there's actually some important information that Belinda's given us here, which unfortunately has been taken by most people as showing Cody as being the bad person here in the situation. But I want to actually unpack what's been said here, because I actually get a slightly different impression from listening to what's being said. So they were together for 3.5 years. And then Jack was born, and Belinda said things went downhill really fast after Jack was born. Now, it sounds like she hasn't discussed with Cody why he feels things went downhill. Her observation is that maybe it was the pressures of trying to support a family. And she's saying he, after Jack was born, started drinking and getting into the rugs. And Malaya decided that she'd had enough. Ask yourself this question. If this was a healthy relationship, would you truly expect to see one partner reacting in the way that Cody did over the birth of a new child? Now, it's possible that at the time when Belinda said this, that she was just trying to be kind to Malaya, because it was after this that we started seeing more of the not so nice side of Malaya coming out in relation to her actions towards Belinda. But we have started to see that Malaya is, in fact, a somewhat self-centred individual. Her treatment of Belinda since the children went missing has been despicable, in my opinion. This is the grandmother of her children, and yet she's ghosted her. And more recently, she actually reported to Belinda to the RCMP. I believe the claims there were that Belinda was harassing her or bullying her. I'm not sure. I'd have to listen through the audio again. She came up with that BS story for the RCMP that maybe Cody abducted the children. And she even tried to take the GoFundMe money that was being raised to help raise awareness over these children being missing. And thanks to the secretly recorded audio, we've heard from Wade, her stepfather, that she's not good with money. At the time the children went missing, according to Wade, Malaya had something like $34,000 debt. And in both instances, when she left Cody, and more recently, when she left Daniel, she only briefly stayed at her mother's house. Meaning that there's some reason that she's not hugely welcome at her mother's house. And you've heard the way Wade talks about her. He's not a huge fan of Malaya. So that to me says that it's quite possible that Cody was reacting in the only way he knew how to a toxic relationship. Was she being too free with their money and stressing him out because they had a new baby to support? Was she being self-centred and putting too much pressure on Cody rather than actually accept any responsibility herself? See, when Belinda says that in the end Cody just didn't care, I actually don't believe that. If Belinda were to come out tomorrow and say, by the way, Cody has ADHD, I would believe her. Because what she's describing here is basically ADHD shutdown. Now, I'm not saying that he does have ADHD, but I'm saying that you see this same response in people with ADHD. So I understand how it works. You get into a situation that becomes so overwhelming that trying to navigate through that situation feels insurmountable. You see something as an entire thing as opposed to the sum of its parts. So I'm going to give you an example that probably a lot of you can relate to. Now, as many of you know, I have ADHD. As a child, I was a shocker when it came to tidying my bedroom. Now, on those occasions when my room became just really bad, where you could, barely make it through to the bed, then if I was told, you need to tidy your room, that was going to end in failure, because I would see the whole picture. I would walk in and I would see clutter all over the desk. I would see things strewn on the floor. So the ADHD me would go in and start on something random somewhere. But that would always progress to basically me becoming distracted and doing something that really didn't involve tidying. Because for my brain, the big picture, seeing how much I had to do to make my room tidy was overwhelming. But if I was given instructions, like go in and put all your toys away in the toy chest, one task, easily accomplished. I could do it. And I suspect, based on everything we've heard about Malaya, that may actually, or was quite likely, what was going on here with Cody. I don't think he ever hit a point where he didn't care. I think on the outside it probably appeared that he didn't care. But I think what you're seeing there is a sense of overwhelm. I would imagine, based on what Wade said, that Malaya may have been somewhat demanding after Jack was born, and maybe that felt too overwhelming for Cody. We don't know what else was going on with that relationship. But the fact that this all happened straight after Jack was born says to me, especially when Belinda is referring to the pressures of trying to support a family, to me it says that it was basically a sense of overwhelm, and the appearance of not caring was more basically a case of shutting down because it seemed insurmountable. The inability to break it down into smaller parts. Again, when Malaya took him to court to take full custody of the children, for him, maybe it was that all he could see was the huge task of him having to turn up in court and share his side of things and fight against it, rather than looking at, okay, well, if today I just ring a few lawyers and get a bit of advice, and then I take one step from there. I mean, this is all just a theory, but the point I'm trying to make here is that we know now that Malaya's not the super quiet speaking angel that she appeared to be when we first saw this case. She's done some pretty downright nasty things to Belinda in terms of how she has ghosted her, how she's reported her to the RCMP. She has got a side of her that is not so nice. So I think we need to acknowledge that and recognise that just maybe Cody was dealing with things in the only way that he knew how. I mean, obviously this is all speculation. I'm not a psychologist. I haven't sat down and done any sessions with Cody or anything like that. But, you know, a few things that we do know is that Malaya's behaviour has proven that she's not the sweet, quiet girl that we may have believed she was. There is certainly a manipulative side. There is certainly a selfish side. We know from her stepfather that she clearly wasn't good with money. And judging by the way her stepfather was speaking about her, he's not a fan, by the sounds of it. Which to me says that, you know, she can't be exactly the easiest person to get along with, perhaps. There's also the thing that we need to consider here is that we've heard a lot from Belinda now. And I find it very hard to imagine her having a child, a son or a daughter, who is not capable of empathy and who, despite appearances, would stop caring about their own children. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier in this video, it's not really our business. It doesn't make any difference when it comes to Lily and Jack. Cody's relationship with his children, or lack thereof, makes no difference in terms of finding them or knowing what happened to them.
She went to court for full custody, and she went to court for child support payments, and he was paying child support right up until 11 months ago now, when he lost his job, lost his apartment, and lost his vehicle, and that's why he's home.
You know, I actually do feel sorry for Cody. When you look at what he's gone through, it really does sound to me like Malaya put her own selfish needs ahead of the needs of her children and ahead of the needs of Cody. Now, as I mentioned before, the article claimed that, according to the police reports, that Cody was still paying child support for the children up until when they went missing. But Belinda has clarified it, not just here, but also directly to me, that Cody stopped paying child support when he lost his job.
Now that we have that out of the way, does it suck? Yes, it does. I make no excuses for him, but he is my son, and I love him with all my heart. And that's what I want to say about him. Now I want to know why everybody seems to be talking about everybody else, and I find Lily and Jack are getting lost in the background.
I can really appreciate Belinda's way of looking at things. And when she says, that essentially she disagrees with what he's done, she thinks it sucks, but he's her son and she still loves him, that to me says that she is being completely honest here. It has been confirmed elsewhere, but if he did have a criminal record, then I could see her coming out and saying, yeah, okay, he did a dumb thing. Because essentially she's told us here that she values him for the individual that he is, not for his actions, not for what he has or hasn't done. And I said this when I reviewed the CBC interview. I have never come across anything in the way Belinda has spoken that makes me think that she is being anything less than truthful. So anything that I hear out of her mouth, to me, is credible. And I left in that last part because I think she makes such a good point. Why is everyone focusing on everyone else and not on Lily and Jack?
It broke my heart when her and Cody didn't work. They were my picture perfect family. It broke my heart. And Malaya made me feel it was okay. She'd come every couple of weeks with the kids. And then it slowly dwindled after she met Daniel. So yeah, she was changing. I can't deny that. There was some changes.
Now, we've definitely heard a lot that suggests that there certainly was a coercive relationship between Daniel and Malaya. And it is the classic story of the woman gets with a new partner and he basically isolates her from her support network. There may be one or two people that he allows her to continue to have contact with because he doesn't see them as a threat in any way. In this relationship, Belinda would have been perceived as a threat because she was the children's grandmother and she was the mother of Malaya's former partner. Of course, in terms of Cindy, in terms of Paddy, we know that Paddy was helping Malaya out financially and they were going there periodically to do a load of washing. So it was beneficial for Daniel for Malaya to continue having a relationship with her grandmother. Cindy, I suspect that Daniel probably would have been too scared to try and isolate Malaya from Cindy, based on everything we've heard. But certainly, as far as Belinda, Cody, anyone on that side of the family, you bet there was too much threat there for Daniel to allow Malaya to continue to have any sort of relationship with them. That said, I do believe that there is a level of selfishness in someone who can do that and not allow their children access to their grandmother, not allow their children access to their father. I get the impression that when it comes to Malaya, she sees someone's worth as being based on what she can get out of them. And I suspect that to her, there wasn't a great deal that she could actually get out of Belinda. So she was quite happy to just drop Belinda by the wayside. I'm actually not sure that I would agree that Malaya changed. I think maybe she just showed her true colours. I do believe there was the element of a coercive relationship, meaning that Daniel didn't want her associating with anyone connected to Cody and his family. However, Malaya allowed it. She was too selfish to consider that her children might actually enjoy and benefit from spending time with their grandmother. Instead, she put her own needs first. For her, her own needs were basically keeping in suite with her new partner.
Does Cody have any other children besides Lily and Jack?
Yes, he does.
I considered leaving that part out simply because, in my view, we don't really need to know about Cody's other children. But at the same time, I thought I wanted to include it because Belinda's response tells me the same thing. It was a very brief, very straightforward, yes, he does. No elaboration, meaning that's all you're getting on this. So I think, we can acknowledge Cody has other children. That's all we need to know. Any details around that have absolutely no impact whatsoever on Lily and Jack's case.
Okay. And I know another question that we've seen about him a lot is, like what does he think might have happened, or is he disconnected enough? Like we know we heard your conversation with the RCMP. Is he disconnected enough that he's not paying attention to it? I can't imagine that.
No, he's it's been really rough. You think the best thing is walking away, and then you see everything that's happened. I came from a broken family, and I came from parents that fought, and I understood why he walked away. I didn't agree with it, but I understood it.
I understand it too. And I'm going to share something that is incredibly personal. When I was 12, my parents separated and my father moved to another state. Now, my mother did everything in her power to prevent my father from having any access to me whatsoever. And my father made the choice because he felt that it was better for me, for my emotional well-being. He made the choice to not fight that. Because of that, I only got to see him once in person from when I was 12 up until when I was in my mid-20s. Like I said, he lived in another state. I was pretty much completely cut off from any connections with him up until when I moved out of home, which was I was about 21. But Dad truly believed that what he was doing was what was best for me. He told me before he died how much he regretted that choice, but he explained to me why he made that choice. The fact that Malaya was more than happy to prevent her children from having any contact with their father, to cut them off completely from their father, and the fact that he chose to go along with that, to me says a lot about Malaya's personality.
The last time they were here was Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And that's when she told me that she was going to leave them. And she was going to her mom's because she was going to speak to her grandmother to see if she could move back in there. And she did. She was gone for 2 days. I never stated nothing to my son about it. That was between them.
Yeah.
She stayed at her mom's, I think, for 2 days, and then she'd come back and she told my son that she was leaving. When she broke up with Cody and was back at her mom's. It was about 6 to 7 months when she told me she's going to start dating again. And I told her I thought it was a wonderful idea. And she had met somebody. She posted pictures of them. They were together only for a couple of months, and she told me that it didn't work out, that she just found him a little overbearing, and she wasn't happy with the way he was around the kids. So that ended, and it was only about possibly a month, maybe a month and a half, when she stated she met Darren, or Daniel, sorry.
So the most ridiculous rumour I've heard in terms of Cody was that Lily and Jack weren't his children, and that they were actually Daniel's children, and that Malaya had had an affair with Daniel, and that's why she left Cody. Well, you've just heard there Belinda talking about it was 6 or 7 months after Malaya split up with Cody that she started dating. She dated someone else before she met Daniel. So that makes it pretty clear that there's no way Daniel was the father of these children. And I'm pretty certain that had that been the case, she wouldn't have been with Cody for 3.5 years. Had that been the case, she wouldn't have waited a year to start dating him after dating somebody else first. I don't know how that rumour came about, but honestly, it really just, it doesn't hold water, even the slightest.
How did you find out that Lily and Jack were missing?
The mum of my grandson called me. We were in town. She asked if I heard the news. She sent me the article that was on Facebook showing the kids missing. I couldn't call Malaya yet, so I waited till we got home. It was around 3, between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. A couple of cop cars pull into the driveway. The lights wake me up. That I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I see the cars pull in, so I knew what it was. So they come inside. They only stood in the kitchen. They wanted me to wake Cody up, and they wanted to know when was the last time he had seen the kids, and that they were just making sure that the kids weren't here. And then they left.
It's been a while since I watched that interview, and seeing that clip again just broke my heart all over again. So that's confirming what we heard in the documents, that basically she didn't even hear directly from Malaya. She heard from the mother of her grandson. And then thanks to Malaya's ridiculous stunt, she had to go through having the cops there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And yet she still turned up the next day to go and search for those children. More than what Malaya did.
So when was the last time you saw the children?
A year and a half, almost, really, it's about a year and 9 months.
How did you deal with that?
Really, to be honest, maybe I didn't deal good enough with it. I looked at the fact that when her and my son separated, my son walked away. He chose to walk away, that she wanted sole custody of the kids. So she petitioned the courts for sole custody, and when she did that, he said he was done.
Okay, first of all, I played that bit about Belinda saying it had been about 18, 19 months since she saw the children, because there's been so much confusion where people have taken the period of time since Cody saw them as how long since Belinda saw them. But she has explained here that basically after Malaya and Cody separated, Malaya was still bringing the children to visit her. Cody wasn't living with her at that point in time. He was off on his own. He was working. He had his own apartment. He had his own car. So Malaya would take the kids to visit Belinda, but she wasn't taking them to see Cody. Cody basically, when she went for full custody, he said, that's it. I know Janie has openly criticised Belinda for not fighting to actually see the children, but honestly, it's none of Janie's business. I'm going to address this in another video because there is audio where Belinda digs into it a bit deeper, and I don't think I need to do that here because this video is about Cody. But she does say here that, her decision in terms of not wanting to push for access to the children was connected to Cody's decision. I truly feel from listening to Belinda that Cody's decision was based on a sense of the fight being insurmountable. The Malaya going for full custody and him feeling that he couldn't fight that.
Were you ever formally questioned?
Yes.
So then it's about a month after Lily and Jack are last seen that they come and formally question you.
So it's about 3 weeks. They question Cody for an hour and a half in the vehicle, and then they question me for 2 hours in the vehicle.
How did that feel to you?
I didn't mind. I mean, to me, I expected I'm the grandmother, so it wasn't a surprise to me. I'm assuming the sooner they do all that, I wish they would have done it sooner, that the sooner they can move on. So I didn't have a problem. My son was a little upset about it. He said they made him feel like he did something wrong, and he said he hadn't seen the kids in 3 years. So he was a little upset about it, that he said that they really come at him hard. They wanted to know what her favorite color was, and he said, they were babies when I seen them last. He said, she was just learning what she wanted to figure out to eat. I don't know what her color is. So yeah, he was pretty upset.
Have they ever talked to him again since then?
A couple of days ago, they had contact, and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
So we have another statement here where it seems pretty clear that Cody did care about those children. And this investigation is affecting him. And I think where she said that, they made him feel bad about not seeing the children, I think part of that probably came internally. He probably does have that sense of guilt for not seeing his children. But at the end of the day, what ifs aren't any good. I mean, we heard in the Maddie Soto case where her bio dad was saying, he regrets that he missed out on all that time with Maddie and that, he left it too late. But at the end of the day, you can't see what's ahead. I think, there's a lesson in it for all biological parents. You may not get another chance with your child. So sitting back and thinking, I'll tackle this when they're a bit older, may not come ever. And I think that that's something that Cody is going to be living with for the rest of his life. I think we can tell that there is going to be regret for him because he made a decision at the time that was perhaps the only decision he could make. But you can look back on those things in retrospect and imagine that you had another choice, even if you didn't. I have to say, from listening to what Belinda has to say about Cody, even just from listening to Belinda herself, that I hope that if the opportunity arises for Cody or Belinda to do an interview with Hidden True Crime. I think that would go a long way to offering a chance of healing. Because we know that when it comes to Lauren and John, they don't just do an interview. They spend time actually debriefing, talking about, just offering the support that someone with a professional background like John can offer, helping people to process things like that. So, I would love to see an interview with Belinda or with Cody. Although I think, for Cody it's probably better if he stays in the background. But, in terms of gaining support and actually being able to just get everything out there on the table, I think that would be an ideal thing. Anyway, back to Cody. So, hopefully I've cleared up all the different rumours that are out there about Cody. I think there's a few important takeaways here. One is that we don't know the full situation, and making a judgment in a situation that we don't fully understand isn't fair. I think another important takeaway here is that Cody does genuinely care about those children. And he is suffering as well. Now, I'm going to finish off by playing another audio clip, and this is from a podcast that was done with CBC, where Kayla, the interviewer who did a lot of these one-on-one interviews, is talking about Cody and the relationship, and that just basically confirms what we've already heard. The main reason for me playing it is because she points out that CBC themselves checked and can confirm that Cody does not have a criminal history. And you know that when a news outlet says that, they have access to records that we don't have access to. So if they have checked and confirmed that he does not have a criminal record, then he does not have a criminal record. And rather than my usual outro, I'm going to finish with one more statement from Belinda. So on that note, thank you, and let's just roll the end tape.
What about the children's biological father? Have you been able to speak with him?
I haven't been able to speak with him directly, but we have learned his story because we've been able to speak with his mother, Belinda Gray, the children's grandmother. And while we were there, sitting in the yard, she also talked about how there have been all kinds of rumors circulating about how her son is supposedly out west and in jail. And she says he's never been out west. He's never been in jail. CBC News has confirmed he has no criminal record, and he's currently living with her. Now, she acknowledges that he hasn't seen the children in 3 years. She maintained a relationship for some time, seeing the children a couple of times a month, but she says that changed when their mother met Martel, and she hadn't seen them for nearly 2 years before they went missing.
Kayla, did Belinda Gray say how she found out Lily and Jack went missing?
Yes, she says she was out and about when she got a call from another family member asking if she had heard the news, and then in the middle of the night, a couple of police cars pulled into her driveway, the lights waking her up. She knew why they were there, of course. And they first wanted to make sure the kids weren't at her house. The officers then came back a few days later to take pictures of the vehicles in their yard. And then they went back a third time and formally questioned both Gray and her son, which she says she was fine with, but her son was a bit upset. But she says the police have since had contact again to tell her son they aren't looking his way anymore and that everything is fine there.
There is nothing more pure and innocent than a 6 and a 4-year-old. And they deserve so much better than what they got.